Hey, what's up? It's Antonio. Welcome back to my channel, the Who's Ready for Some Fighting Words. In this video, I want to talk about Conor Benn, how he looked over the weekend, and what's next for the Destroyer. Really quick, if you like the videos, please take the time to subscribe to the channel. A lot's happening in the sport of boxing, and I would like to be the guy who gives you the news and keeps you updated on what's going on in the sport of boxing. Also, if you could hit that thumbs up button, it does help, it does support, and it does show love to this channel. So let's jump into this. Conor Benn, how did he look over the weekend? What would I rate his performance? It's not an A, but it's passing, but it's not an A. He didn't have a slouch for an opponent. I don't want to give the guy that. He didn't have a slouch for an opponent. But it's not what I honestly, I kind of thought, like, I looked the guy up, his record and everything like that, and I was kind of surprised. And I remember when the guy told Eddie Hearn, he said, "You don't know who I am, do you? You don't know anything about me, do you?" And Eddie said, No, I don't. And he said, "You're going to see." Did the guy do anything impressive? No. I mean, other than, I guess, last the duration of the fight. But I don't really feel like he was trying to take the moment, because even Eddie Hearn said, "Listen, if you win this fight, your life changes." And I didn't necessarily see from that guy that he was trying to, change his life, to be honest with you. But when I look at Conor Benn, I didn't see anything spectacular from him. I definitely, would give him a passing grade. I think it was a strong B+ of a performance, but that's about it. I know I was expecting something else because it's Conor Benn, and everything prior, has been annihilation. And then, you see this fight with this this unknown. You expect for Conor to basically shut him out and just, obliterate him, quite frankly. And I didn't see that. And that to me was a little shocking. And I think that goes back to the fact that maybe there's nothing in your system. Here's the thing. You were knocking out guys who were higher caliber level, and then you can't get this guy out of here. That nobody knows who this guy is. Yeah, he has a nice record, but we don't know who he is. So nonetheless, we don't know who he's fought. We don't know who he's fought. All right? So they're just as much of a nobody as he is. We don't know who he's fought. We don't know who he is. We just found out about him. And now you can't get this guy out of here. Not only that, you can't drop the guy. You can't slow the guy down. The guy looked pretty comfortable in there. I mean, like I said, he wasn't necessarily stepping on the gas or anything, but you weren't necessarily stepping on the gas or anything. I mean, yes, when Conor did his combinations, he did try to unload, and he had some big shots. They both had some pretty big shots here and there. They both had moments. Obviously, Conor had more moments. He won unanimous decision, but was it what I was expecting to see? No, it was not. I was expecting annihilation. I didn't see that. And I think, let me rephrase that. I know I wasn't the only one with those same thoughts, because right away, everybody's tweeting and saying, "Hey, where'd the power go? Where did the Destroyer go? You were the Destroyer before, and now, you're just a regular dude. Where'd it go? When you're getting tested, you don't have the same pop, and listen, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but it is questionable that prior to those tests being revealed and the results being revealed, you were getting guys out of there, guys who were higher caliber than this guy, and now you can't do it. That is questionable. But more importantly, what I really want to talk about in this video is one of the guys who basically called out Conor for the lack of power, which would be Errol "The Truth" Spence. He's still on the scene. He isn't going anywhere. He's already announced, "I'm not retiring. Don't even ask. I'm not going nowhere." There should be a link, I think right here, possibly, maybe here, but I'm thinking it's right here. But he's not going anywhere. He's still the truth. He has one loss in his record to like the #1 guy under Canelo. So, are we serious? So he's still the truth. And he noticed, hey, you couldn't get that guy out of there. We don't even know that guy's name, and you couldn't get him out of there. Like, what is that saying about you, buddy? And, Conor after the fight, he's just like, oh, I want the big names and it's just like, maybe you're not as good as you thought you were. There were a lot of things that, quite frankly, I feel like an Errol Spence would exploit in Conor. There are things that I've never liked that Conor has, would do in the ring, but he was getting guys out of there, so you can't really say much about it. But when you got to admit, his energy level was different, So with that being said, from the performance that I just saw of Conor Benn, could that guy beat Errol Spence? No. I think he would be tailor-made for Errol Spence. He's going to do the same sequence over and over again, the same feint. And I don't know where that feint came from. He has this weird, his hands are low as is, but then his feint is he just drops his head. And I'm like, who just drops their head? Like, your hands are already low and you just, you dip your head forward. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, you are tailor-made for any of these guys, the Thurmans, or Sean Porter could come out of retirement and probably do a job on you, doing things like that. That's not a very safe thing to do. But if that's what you want to do, by all means, I think Errol Spence, quite frankly, I think Conor Benn is a great opponent for Errol Spence. Let me say why. Conor Benn has been gone longer than Errol Spence, and he's more rusty than Errol Spence. Well, not now. He just had a fight. But he would be around the same rust level as Errol Spence. And you got to keep in mind, Errol Spence just fought Terrence Crawford. So he didn't fight a slouch. Conor Benn did just fight a slouch, and it went on 12 rounds. Well, so that's got to tell you something. But I think Errol Spence could easily handle Conor Benn. I mean, Conor's going to keep coming forward. Great for Errol Spence. Conor is going to be really low. Great for Errol Spence. Conor is going to try to muscle himself against Errol Spence, which is great for Errol Spence. Conor doesn't necessarily mix up his combinations differently, meaning he doesn't use different combinations. It kind of seemed to be, for the most part, the same combinations over and over again, which is great for Errol Spence. And I just see Errol Spence kind of like ragdolling him or muscling him out. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight because one thing Conor doesn't possess is the will to win and a fire inside. And I think that fire now is even more lit due to the fact that he's trying to reprove himself. Before it was, I'm Conor Benn and I'm not the son of Nigel Benn. Well, now it's I'm not the son of Nigel Benn. I'm Conor Benn. And I'm not a drug cheat. That's a lot to overcome. That's a whole lot to overcome. And that performance didn't do it. Didn't solidify any of those question marks. Because right now, you're set up nicely because of whose son you are. Let's call a spade a spade. You are. You haven't beaten anybody. Well, now everything that you've done is surrounded by a big question mark. So that's that. And on top of that, you just went 12 rounds with a relative nobody. With all due respect to Dobson, but a relative nobody. Nobody knows who this guy is. And he just took you into deep water. And you didn't drown him, by the way. You didn't drown him. So, I don't know. I think he'd be tailor-made for Errol Spence. I don't think, I don't know. His fundamentals are not I'm not going to say not what they used to be, but I just remember more of a jab from Conor Benn. I remember more of a head movement, not a dip, not a hands low dip to the front. Not that, but more head movement. I remember there was more of that prior, and I didn't see any of that. And I'm like, man, Earl would literally, it could be man down because Conor would force the action. That's one of Conor's things. He needs for people to commit in order for him to look good. But you get a guy like Spence, who's naturally big for the division as is, and naturally has that type of mentality as is, and is naturally a physical guy in the ring as is. I think Conor Benn versus Errol Spence would be amazing. I think, without even seeing it, it could possibly be runner-up for Fight of the Year. But I think Conor would have a little too much on his hands, to be quite frank with you. But those are my thoughts. Drop your thoughts down below. How do you feel about Conor Benn taking on Errol the Truth Spence? And if so, how do you feel about Conor winning or losing to Errol the Truth Spence? I personally believe he would lose, but I think it would be an amazing fight. Drop your thoughts down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. And as always, please like, please share, please subscribe to this channel.